Can you tell us what moments or people in your life have inspired you to give back?
My mother was a volunteer and would have been more of a philanthropist if she could have been, but she decided to give of her time, and I grew up with that passion to want to be involved.
My mother, she was a volunteer docent at an art museum for over 25 years. And we learned very early on to find our passion and then share it with other people, because it'll make you a much more satisfied person and also bring you closer to other people that live near you.
In one of my careers, I worked in children's services and had the opportunity to meet Marion Wright Edelman, who established the Children's Defense Fund. And I may not be quoting her directly, but one of the things she said was that service was the price that we give for living.
For me, it was my mother. I was raised by a single mom and 7 of us, and in great poverty, from Puerto Rico to the tenement slums of New York City. And so it was very difficult. But despite it all, she was a fighter, a fierce leader, and a great mentor. And I was able to overcome all of those challenges and become a lawyer and then a judge. And so my giving back to the community really stems from that journey. It was always about helping others that helped us.
So at an early age, I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club. And one of the things they taught us was that as you quote unquote make it in life, to bring others along and to never forget where I came from. And that's something that's always been important to me. And it was reinforced to what I learned in the church and learned in our family. And as we look as my wife and I and our own kids, that's certainly something that we try to impress upon our kids, is the need of giving back and giving what you can. It's critically important, and we don't have to be billionaires to be able to make a difference. And just knowing that if we all can work together in a collective good, that we all can make a difference.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is my mother. So my mother did a couple of things in her life that have stuck with me, and both of them actually happened in the 60s. She was very civically active, like many women who moved to Florida, and particularly to the community in which we live.
My grandparents were the first examples I had at a very young age. I can just remember they would give the shirt off their backs to someone in need in their community. They were very involved, whether it was being a deacon at the church or just driving someone to the doctor's office. They always showed up, and it didn't matter how much money they had, but they always gave their time and their talent and their treasure. And that taught me something. And I also grew up in Kentucky, where agriculture was a very important part of my youth. My parents, my grandparents, my uncles, they were all very involved in giving back to future farmers of America.
I would say, first and foremost, my family members, specifically my parents and my grandfather. My grandfather started a legacy of charitable giving in our family, serving on a number of boards, being an active Rotarian, and serving as the mayor of his small town. And my parents have continued that legacy, both in small ways by helping elderly neighbors and taking food to people who have surgery, all the way up to serving on boards and being very active in the community. So I think they've set a wonderful example that I've been able to follow in terms of charitable giving to my community.
My father was a Primitive Baptist minister, pastor, so he was a public servant. He gave all of himself to the service of others. My mother was a public health nurse, and they just taught me the importance of helping the community and the importance of doing more for others.